Another topic I've been asked to address is the issue of why the grandfather in the story becomes mute. Why does he lose his words? Oscar's grandfather experiences a very traumatic incident. At the very moment he experiences his first love, he also experiences the firebombing of Dresden, and his entire world is destroyed. And out of the rubble of World War II, he has to rebuild his life. His response to this over time is very complicated, but eventually ends up where he does not speak, cannot speak, refuses to speak. He can write words, but he can't speak them. He retreats into silence. The traumatic experiences of the firebombing of Dresden lead him into a place where he is completely isolated by his own silence. In this sense, he's typical of a number of characters in the novel who are themselves trying to deal with trauma, with the horror of an experience which overwhelms them, which tears apart their world. Oscar himself is not innocent of a number of unusual behaviors, of lying to us, or at least hiding from us information. He doesn't tell us, for example, about his refusal to pick up the phone on the morning of 9/11. And that's because he's responding in his own way to terrorism, to the horror of an experience which is deeply embedded in his consciousness. The grandfather and Oscar, in that sense, are both responding in the best way they can, psychologically and emotionally. They're damaged. And part of their damage is precisely their inability to connect with the other human beings in ways that make sense to other human beings. They look like loners, they look isolated, they look unusual in a sense. Oscar's mother and Oscar's grandmother are also responding in their own way to these incidents, and they too respond in ways which don't always look, in quotation marks, normal. They're grappling as confused human beings with an experience that refuses to become comprehensible in certain kinds of ways. All these characters are coping. And I think what Foer is suggesting is that since 9/11 we've all been coping. We've all been looking for a way to understand an incident which at some level seems completely illogical and irrational and meaningless. The novel ends, of course, on what I would take to be a fairly optimistic note. There is an opportunity for redemption. Oscar's grandfather does find his way back, with Oscar's help, toward the possibility of a loving human relationship. Oscar himself finds his way back to the possibility of a loving human relationship with his mother. In this sense, it might be interesting to think about the names of the two main characters, or at least of two of the main characters. Thomas Schell, the grandfather, and Oscar Schell, the grandson. A shell, of course, is something that's easily broken, as all of these characters are. But a shell also is the outside of an egg, and the possibility of the rebirth of something else. And I think what Foer wants to suggest to us is that out of the traumatic, horrific experiences of an event like 9/11, where there is much pain and suffering, there is also the possibility of human growth, of human rebirth, and of human regeneration.